channel, welcome if you're new. Today we are doing my wrap up of December. I know it's coming to you a bit late. The start of this year has not been the best for the brain, but we're vibing, we're getting through it, it's all good. Fine, funky and fresh. So we will be doing stats for the first time. I don't think I've ever actually sat and given you my page stats and stuff, which I will start doing going forward because I do track my stats and I like seeing my stats. So there's literally no point in me tracking them if I don't do anything with them. So here we go. In the month of December, I read a total of, I've forgotten already. Was it 19 books? 19 books. It was 19 books. And out of those books, I had 1 DNF, 4 2 stars, no 3 stars, 5 4 stars, and 9 5 stars. Those 19 books totaled 6,060 pages and 61.5 hours on audio. The formats in which I read these were 1 physical, which was a manga, 1 audio only, 4 ebooks, and the rest were mixed media, which seems to be my preferred way of taking in books at the moment. And it's just like a full immersive experience. Even if I didn't have this issue with just physically reading at the moment, I probably would still, where possible, opt for the audio and physical, because the immersive reading experience is just the best. And I can visualise things in my head with the voices of the characters as well, especially if the audiobook is narrated by someone good. Give me all the audiobooks, I swear to God, it is so good. We're gonna start with my DNF. And I'm sorry, but I DNF'd Where the Crawdads Sing. I found this audio on the YouTubes, and unfortunately, I just couldn't get into it. I had absolutely no idea, and I had no interest in this whatsoever. It was the final pick for my 12 books, 12 prompts that I hadn't got around to during the year. In December, I tried reading the things that I'd missed out on. Unfortunately, I didn't get to the Fellowship of the Ring, which I really wanted to get to, but I did get to 2 of the picks that I hadn't got around to in the earlier rounds that I did. So this one was picked by Danny. I had fulfilled the prompt earlier on in the year, so the prompt was fulfilled, which was read a book with a pink cover. I read plenty of books with pink covers in the last 12 months, so that should be fine. But I don't even know what this follows. Like, it's a girl who lives in like the bayou kind of area, and I don't know. I don't know if it was a case of I didn't get the official audio. Maybe that may have made a difference, because the audio on YouTube is a bootleg. There's a chaptered one by someone who I think she's just a fan of the book, so she's just done her own audios by chapters, and I don't know, I didn't get it. I don't mind trying things that are different, and I am likely to at least attempt things outside of my usual genres again at some point in the next 12 months. Next, on to the 2 stars, and I'm going to put all these together because I read these if you watch my vlogmas videos, and I think this went up on the 27th, I want to say, with my Have Yourself a Merry Little Smutmas vlog. And I've come to realise that I need plot and some kind of character development with my smut. I haven't ever, the amount of times I talk about smut on this channel, and the innuendos me and my friends come out with, you'd think that I read smut on a regular basis. I just have a dirty mind. It is what it is. And I feel like, okay, so let me just give you the titles of the books. They were Tied Up for Christmas and Santa Is Coming. They were both like 50, 60 page novella type things. And there was Satan and Mr Jingle. Satan and Mr Jingle were by the same author, and that is Layla Layla Faye. Tied Up for Christmas was by Faye Rose. Santa Is Coming is by Susanna R. Stone. So I read all these four from the comfort of my bed when I was doing my merry little Smutmas vlog. And I don't like going into these kind of things with expectations that are either way. I like to go with a neutral mindset, because I'm well aware that there are some books that are on Kindle Unlimited that are like small, like dark romance, whatever you want to call them, that are really good. And there are indie authors that write fantasy romance that are really good. Prime example, KJ Sutton. Dark fantasy romance. The writing, the plot, the characters. Bear in mind they are bigger books, they're not novellas, but, you know, so good, so good. Laura Thalasser I've heard is really good, and they are more well known, but you get my gist. But these four books, Tied Up for Christmas is, I was looking for ones that had a bit of diversity in them. So this was a female short novella, and it starts with, oh, by the way, there's spoilers in this bit. I'll put a spoiler alert thing up here. If you haven't seen my vlog, you'll find out now what it's about. So this starts with a girl who is really pissed off with her boyfriend paying more attention to work than her, and she just wants a bit of spicy bedroom time. So she decides to tie herself up and make herself look all sexy and feel sexy, because he says he's going to be home at a specific time. So she was like, I'm going to get ready for you, and we're going to have a good old rompety romp, and it's going to be fun and fine and fresh and frisky. However, as you probably guessed, now that I've said it's a female, her boyfriend doesn't come home, or fiance, I can't remember which one it is, doesn't come home when he's supposed to, and she gets stuck, and she can't extricate herself from the situation in which she's gotten herself in. So what does she do? She's like, fuck it, I'm just going to message my best friend, and she will come and save the day. She will be my saviour. So her friend comes over, and she's like, what we've got here then? And at first it's very jokey, and obviously this girl's constantly mentioning how horny she is. Yeah, things happen. Initially it's like, oh, can you just, because I don't want him to miss out, or I want to show him what he's missed out on, can you just take some sexy photos of me for him so I can send them to him? So her friend's like, yeah, fine. And then her friend starts instructing her on how to position herself and stuff, and it goes from there. And it's very, very and then by the end, they're curled up on the sofa. For one, the cheating trope, I fucking hate. It kept saying during this, maybe this wasn't a 2-star, maybe this was a 1-star. I don't know. I left it at 2 because all of them were very like, ugh. But I hate the cheating trope. I don't care what your excuses are for cheating. In my eyes, and this is just a personal opinion, it's never acceptable, ever. Even if it's just a kiss, it's just not acceptable. Flirting is emotionally cheating. I hate that trope. It's never something that should be in books. I don't understand why sorry, I'm getting riled up. It really annoys me that people use it as a plot device, and I know that there's some tropes that I like that people might think, oh, what the fuck, like, I don't care that there's a 1,000-year-old fae that's gonna sleep with a 20-year-old. I don't care about stuff like that, you know, the mated trope, and, you know, fated mated destiny trope. People hate that, and I get that, but cheating tropes I cannot abide. It's just maybe it's just because of personal experience as well, of being cheated on, and I know the feeling of it. I can't get enjoyment out of two people getting together knowing that they're hurting someone else. Like, I don't understand, no matter how smutty or romantic the person's being, I'm like, bitch, your partner's at home, or your partner's totally oblivious to you doing this right now. So that just fucked me off. And don't get me wrong, the whole tension, the sexual tension, I felt it. I felt it between them. It was also just a bit convenient. Like, she'd never thought of her friend this way before, but now that she was all horny and stuff, and this woman was very clearly eyeing her up, it was like, oh, well, now I might be interested. I'm like, does it really work like that? Are you suddenly just, after having zero interest in girls ever in your life, and you've been best friends with this person for a long time, all of a sudden you feel things just because you're horny? Like, I don't think that is the best representation, but it's not an Unvoiced review, so please can you tell me if you feel that that would be appropriate. I just don't feel that it's very realistic, and it kind of, I don't know, I don't like it. I don't like that bit of it. So maybe this wasn't a 2-star, maybe it was lower, but I don't care. Anyway, moving on to Santa is Coming. This is just a dom sub scene. Trigger warnings for very, very aggressive. It's consent, non-consent. Like, she is hired by this guy. She doesn't know who he is. She has to turn up to this place blindfolded, and he can say and do what he wants to, basically. So, turns out that this guy is her boss, and he's been eyeing her up in the office for a while. He's wanted her for a while. He found out that she worked for this escort service, so he thought he would be deceptive and hire her and dominate her. And then after she'd gone down on him, he would lift her blindfold so that he could see who she was. So she could see who he was, sorry. She spent all of 2 seconds being absolutely fucking outraged at this. 2 seconds. And then she was like, oh, I'm over it now. You've totally manipulated the situation for your benefit after ogling me and thinking about me whilst we've been working together. It's fine. It's all good. Just scooch over in bed and we could just continue. And I didn't like it. It was just very thing. Again, the whole Dom sub thing was interesting to read. If it's your kink, you might enjoy it more than me. It is what it is. Satan and Mr Jingle. Satan. So, there's this girl who is, her life is very, I don't know why I'm giving you full breakdowns on this, but this girl's life is very shit. She's not enjoying life, and she is dyslexic, and she's been writing to Santa for a very long time. Even in her like 30s, she's been writing to Santa. You can see where this is going, can't you? Because she's dyslexic, she's been writing Santa as Satan. And then this one night he decides that he's gonna come down and make her his. And initially she's very creeped out and freaked out, and obviously, as always, for all of 2 seconds she's outraged that this demon devil guy has entered her premises and just wrecked her room. And yeah, they go on a little bit of a journey so he can prove Santa isn't a good guy. And during this whole time where he's very possessive of her, she's like, oh my god, I'm falling for Satan. And then they end up falling for each other. And that's the thing, I will never ever look at cookies the same way again. If you enjoy eating cookies at any time of the year, not just Christmas, maybe don't read this. I've not really been able to eat a cookie since, because, again, spoiler will be up here, he shoots cookies out of his penis. He just creates cookies and shoots them out of his penis and feeds them to people. Yeah, it's a thing. It's a thing. Moving on to Mr Jingle. Mr Jingle is a thing in a mirror, and he has been watching this girl for a while, and it's never really explained how he's created, but he's looking out for her, and he's been making himself into a human based on things that she's been drawing. He brings it to life, and the only thing that she draws, like, it's like a monster. She's like a not safe for work artist, and she's drawn certain parts of this guy's body is like different, like, and obviously his schlong along a ding dong is very different to the normal, and like he's made his look like the way that she's drawn it. And the only thing he hasn't made for himself is a face, and it's kind of like a jingle, like a really creepy mask thing that hasn't been thing yet. Anyway, he ends up coming through the mirror because he's been watching her from behind this mirror, and then things happen. You know, he does things happen, things occur. He sorts out the bullies that have been bullying her online and like threatening her because of what she draws, and it's a whole thing. It's just too much. And again, she falls from very quickly. She gets over the fact that this demon type thing that has come alive from her drawings is there, and she very quickly just thinks it's okay to fornicate, and it's just a lot. It's just my brain. They try, don't get me wrong, she tries to do a plot in both books. She tries her best to put some kind of plot in there. It just doesn't work all that well. Everything just happens so quickly. And then, again, I've mentioned in my lives, I'll never think of eggnog and cookies the same way again. I'm glad I don't like eggnog, because his trick is instead of cookies, it's eggnog. And then, just to top it all off, the icing on the cake, if you will, the cherry on the top, whatever, is that near the end of the book, when there's like an epilogue thing, Satan and Mr Jingle and their respective partners meet up and have eggnog and cookies. You're welcome for that visualisation in that's brain. Anyway, I spent far too long talking about these books, and I didn't realise I had as many thoughts as I do on them. But here we go. You're welcome. Next up, we have my 4-star reads, because I didn't have any 3-star reads. And the first of the 4-star reads, let me just pull them up on my phone. Do I have this physical copy? First up, Make Your Mind This Christmas. This is great, this is grand, this is fabulous and fine and fucking fresh. I don't know why I didn't give it 5 stars. It just wasn't, like, it's one I'm keeping. I'm definitely not on hauling this bitch. But Half has had the year from hell, really. And she decides that she's gonna go and just let her hair down at a Christmas party where she meets a guy. They end up kissing and people think they're together. So they'll just go with it because both of them need something to happen this Christmas. And the connection with them immediately is, like, not sexual. But he's such a lovely person. She's like, do you know what? Let's go. If you need my help in convincing your family that you are with someone, that's fine. Fake dating all the fucking way. But there's a twist. On the way to see his parents, she meets a girl in like a service station, I think it is. And they have this immediate spark, and she kind of gets a bit flirty, and then turns out the girl, and then like, nothing happens. And then the shopkeeper in there was just like, oh my god, it's like a meet cute situation. It's so funny. And then it turns out that the girl is Christopher, the guy's sister. And it goes from there. This was great. I will be having a look at Lizzie Huxley Jones's other works because I would be very interested in reading more from this author. The audiobook is also good. Are you surprised that I listened to it on audio? Probably not. I would recommend. Okie dokie, artichoke. Next up, we have 2 4-stars that were from Sarah Morgan. I don't remember what I rated Midnight in Manhattan. I think I rated it 5. But it is what it is. I really enjoy Sarah Morgan's writing. It's just cute. It's just, if you want a wholesome romance, I mean, it doesn't have any smutting, so if you're purely here for the smut, then I'm sorry, you're not going to get the smut here. But it's not, yeah, it's not that smutty. There's some like intimate moments, but a wedding in December and a Christmas escape, I don't know which was my favourite out of these two. Probably a wedding in December, possibly, I can't remember. So this follows a girl who is the youngest of the family. She's got something wrong with her heart. She is very flighty, unlike the older sister, and she goes to study in America, and then one day calls her mum and was like, I met a guy, we're getting married, yay, come over. And her mum was like, what? Like, are you sure? Like, I don't understand what's going on. And the older sister was very cynical about love. It's very much like, I'm gonna crash this wedding. And it goes from there, obviously. It's not as easy, it's not as straightforward as you might think it is. This one follows two friends, primarily. So Krista is supposed to be going away with Alex, her best friend. Something happens, and they decide to ask Alex to step in and take her daughter because something happens with her husband and they need to sort some shit out. I don't know how much to say about this because I don't want to give too much away, but Alex has an issue with Seb, who is Krista's partner, but she was asked to babysit their daughter, but they don't tell her that a guy called Zach is also going to be taking care of their daughter as well. And Alex has a history with Zach that nobody else knows about. So there's a lot going on in this book, and it's not just a straightforward like A to B romance. There's other relationships, there's romantic relationships that take place in here. There's platonic relationships. They need to build bridges. A lot of it is a lack of communication, and I know I said I hate the miscommunication trope. However, the miscommunication trope in this is done very well. I don't like the whole miscommunication of like you overhear half of a conversation, immediately hate a person, and then that just because you leave before the other half of the conversation is revealed. If you just want a fun, easy read, I would highly recommend. Next up, the last 4-star read, I think. Yeah, the last 4-star read for me is You're a Mean One, Matthew Prince. I had this on Kindle. This is what I mean by where I can say I can read Kindle fine, but I also had this on audio. I found it on audio as well. I enjoyed this. There were bits about this at times where I was like, bitch, no, get out of my face. I don't think I liked the fact, we discussed this in the podcast as well if you want to have a listen to the podcast. Word of warning, if you don't like long form content, then you probably won't enjoy the podcast that much because it's like 2 hours long. But me and Jem and our friends can chat, okay? We chat a lot. But it is like one of the best things of 2022 for me that I've done. And I've done it with one of the most amazing humans I know. So we have the best time, and we've had this discussion there. But briefly, I'm going to try and keep it brief because I've already been chatting to you for like 25 minutes. I'm sorry about this. So yeah, this follows Matthew Prince, who is a woe is me rich white boy who is not the nicest of people, and he gets into a scandal, and his parents think it's best for him to be shipped off to his grandma's so that they can do like damage control, and he thinks he's better than the place that he's sent, and he's like, oh my god, small town people, ew. And he's an arse basically. But the love interest in this is queer, male romance. The guy that he originally meets, I forget his name, isn't the nicest to him either, judges him very quickly on what he's wearing, which I know people do in general. You look at someone and see what they're wearing, and a lot of people will go, oh my god, what are they wearing? They must be set up themselves by the way they hold themselves. It was kind of a bit of a tit for tat situation with those two, but Matthew didn't help himself by actually being a tool when he first came into the village, town, whatever you want to call it. A relationship ensues between these two characters that we meet. After really disliking Matthew to begin with, things change, my opinion changes, obviously, as they probably you expected to do in a rom-com. But there were certain parts of this plot I did not expect. And I didn't expect to be hit so hard by these developments that we come across. So that's why it gets a 4 and not a 3, is because I didn't expect what happened to happen in some parts of this book. And then we move on to the 5 stars. First of which, Alexandra Bellafleur. Girl. Seriously. This is written in stars. It follows Darcy and Elle, who have a disastrous first date because they are set up by Darcy's brother. Is it Darcy's brother? Yes, Darcy's brother. Because Darcy's brother is very much about love, falling in love, and he's very up in the clouds, and he believes in your one true match. He has an app, like a dating app called One True Match. This has fake dating in. Elle and Darcy decide for various reasons to fake date, to predominantly to appease family members, and stop drama ensuing. But obviously, you know, the opposites don't attract. They're not attracted to each other at all. They're not made for each other. They'll never work because Darcy is very grounded and Elle isn't. Elle is the astrologer who is seemingly away with the fairies, and I'm saying seemingly for reasons. It actually made me think a lot more about astrology, not gonna lie. There's a lot more behind Elle than first meets the eye. It's a little bit of steamy. There's a little bit of steamy, and I really enjoyed it. So, there's that. Next up, we have Tales from the Shadowhunter Academy. I don't know why I'm saying it like that. It's fucking great. I wasn't aware of the character that this followed. I don't know why. Maybe it's just me and my brain just not computing what the fuck was going on. But it is so good. This, I don't know why this is called a short story collection. We've also discussed this on the By the Angel Along Live, which I will link around somewhere. We did discuss this. Like, this follows a character as they go through the Shadowhunter Academy. So unlike the Bane Chronicles, where it literally that sits like that feels like a short story collection, because the narrative, although you follow it throughout the years, the narrative and the story don't follow along with each other, where this one does. You follow one character and their interactions and stuff throughout their time at the Shadowhunter Academy. And I'm just thinking, like, it should have just been a novel, because it doesn't skip times at all. It doesn't skip back and forth. I mean, if you read the Bane Chronicles, you can understand why that would be a short story collection. But with this one, it should have just been a novel. But yeah, it was so good. It made me cry. I was crying on the bus listening to this. So that was fun. Wasn't aware that was going to happen to me. So, yeah. Also, my 5 stars, other than my top one, are not ranked. This is not in any particular order. They're just how they are on my stack next to the camera. Next up, The Burning God. I mean, I love Chloe, but also blame Persistent Bookworm Chloe so much for me reading this. It was just a lot. I was not expecting the ending of this. The thing is with this series in general, you don't want to get attached to characters because you never know what's going to happen. In high fantasy books, I have come to realise that authors like to cause me so much pain. Why I continue to read high fantasy books, I don't know. They're all just amazing though, to be honest. But they like to cause me pain, and generally I like feeling that pain. But no, I'm lying to you. I really enjoyed it. The pain was just the right amount of pain for me. I don't know how to describe the whole thing. Poppy War follows Ren, who hasn't had the best childhood, and my god, I would like to wring the neck of the guardians that raised. Oh my god. Ugh. That was not great to read in the first place. Then she goes onto this academy where she's training to become like a soldier and consistently having to prove herself, and she is a badass. But this is not, if you don't already know, this is not an airy fairy fantasy that has like convenient plot points and stuff. You will feel the hurt. You will be thrown into literal war zones. There is a part in the first book where people said that like it was too difficult to read because it's based on a real situation that happened in a war. So if you don't know about it, look it up before you go into it and see if you want to read it. Personally, it was horrible to read. Absolutely awful. But I didn't have the visceral reaction other people did. For reasons I know not, but I didn't. But there is a hell of a lot of situations that they get into where battle is described and everything that comes with battles and wars. It doesn't shy away from the horrors of war, and it doesn't, like, you were literally at some point screaming, like, why are you making this decision? What the hell are you doing this for? But then in a way you can also see that in their minds that is their reason for making that decision, and in their minds it makes sense. Just doing what they feel is best without, like, in the height of war. Like, if you think about it, in a war situation, you're not going to sit down and be like, let's be methodical about this while there's, like, shit going off and, like, you can be attacked at any point. So when you put yourself in their situation, it's like, really? Can I understand it? You know what I mean? It's very difficult, but, like, all these characters are morally grey. There's no character you can look at and, like, they're the good guy, they're the bad guy. Because things, okay? Because things. Next up we have Loveless. And oh my god, Alice Oseman just smashes it out of the park yet again. Solitaire for me was a 4. But the Heartstoppers that I read, the Heartstopper series is a 5, and this is a 5. I haven't read Radio Silence, I Was Born for This, Nick and Charlie, or This Winter yet. They are currently sat behind you, ready to read as and when I can. But, so this follows Georgia, who is questioning her sexuality. And it's about her journey and some of the mistakes she makes along the way when finding out what her sexuality is. So many talking points, so many, I don't know, I don't want to say too much because I don't want to give too much away, but you're probably already aware of what rep is in this book. But it's not just, again, it's not glossed over, it doesn't shy away from the difficult conversations or the difficult feelings that people have when trying to come to terms with their sexuality. Again, not on Own Voices review, so I can't say for sure that this is what people go through, but it makes you, if you were the kind of person that didn't understand gender identity or sexuality or anything like that, this book would be a perfect one to read, because I know bits and bats about, like, sexuality and things like that, but I'm not an expert on every different type of sexuality in there. So even I learned something from this. I mean, I have friends that are queer, but I don't go diving into, like, what was it like coming out, because I feel like that would be invasive. If they want to openly tell me how they came out, or, you know, how they came to understand their own sexuality, then that's for them to come and tell me. Do you know what I mean? I don't, as soon as I find out one of my friends is queer, I'm like, oh, but how did you coming out go? Do you know what I mean? It's not that kind of thing. So reading someone's process of going through it, and again, I know that not all processes are the same, not all things are the same, but reading it kind of helped me understand the ups and downs and, like, the background thoughts of someone who may be questioning themselves. And honestly, it was heartbreaking to read, but also, like, I think it's needed. This kind of book, it's just needed. And that is all I'm going to say on that. Next up, we have Spy Family Volume 1. This is just so cute. This follows a spy to go undercover to get some information from a guy, or to get this guy, and he can only do that by getting into a school, but he can't get into the school unless one of his children goes there, because he needs access to the school where this guy is. So he thinks that it would be a great idea to adopt a child and find himself a wife in order to go undercover, and that, yeah, that'd be great, that'd be absolutely brilliant. But what he doesn't realise is that the child she's freaking great, she's called Anya, she's a telepath, and then the wife that he suddenly acquires through a certain situation is an assassin. And I'm just gonna leave that there. How cool is that? So the telepath knows her dad is a spy and her mum is an assassin, but none of them parents know who the other one is, or who the child is, or what her powers are, because she hasn't told anyone. So the telepath is the only one that knows everything. And that, to me, is brilliant. it's just genius, and I'm so excited to continue with the series. I have volume 2, but I'm gonna wait till I have a couple more volumes before I start reading it, because like Blue Exorcist, I'm just wanting to binge them all, and I don't have the volumes to binge. So before I dive into any more series, I'm gonna wait till I've got a couple of volumes of each series that I've got before I do that. Next up, oh my god, we have Sword of Kaigan. People say this differently. I'm going to say Sword of Kaigan. If you think I've pronounced it wrong, I apologise. Okay, so, Emma Wang. Yes, this is an Asian-inspired fantasy. It's about this young lad who wants to be a warrior. And there's this village of people who have been made to believe, the Empire have made them believe that they are all these amazing warriors. But what they do is important, that they're training their warriors for something amazing, and it turns out that they're not what they thought they were, and the Empire just don't give a shit about this little village of people, and they've just been left to their own devices to think that they're gonna do something good with their lives, and that they're training for something, and then they're just not. So they've been lied to by the Empire, and then shit goes down. It goes down. Mamoru Matsuda is the young lad, and then his mum is Misaki. Yeah, his mum is Misaki. So it follows both of them. I was confused about this book for reasons, because you get to one of the chapters and it literally says the end, but it's halfway through the fucking book. Make that make sense? Make that make sense, guys, because it didn't make sense to me, not at all. So if you like character driven books, you will like this, because you very much do follow characters, and there is a plot, but I don't know how to describe it. It's just great, is all I'm saying. I don't know what else to say. We didn't do a live show on this. This was a book that we read for It's All About Fantasy book club, but we didn't do a live show because Chelsea got sick. It is a long book, but if you can either get the audiobook or if you want to invest your time in it, I would highly recommend it. It's not your typical high fantasy. There is war in there, but it's not purely about people getting ready for war, like a big battle like some high fantasies are, like big wars against different clans and stuff. War is involved, but it also follows like a person and their feelings and thoughts, and like some day-to-day shit. I don't know how to describe it, but it's just so well done. And initially I was like, this is a 4, but then I couldn't. They just lived rent-free in my head, so I was like, it has to be a 5, because the more I thought about it, the more I just realised it just stuck with me. Obviously, as Jen would say, 2023 is the year of the vibe, and the vibes were just, they were just there. And then second to last, look how many tabs I'm running. Second to last is Dark Shade of Magic. This was a reread for me, and we are doing it for the Schwabble Ding Dong. If you haven't seen the live show, I will link it around up and down below. I would highly recommend this series. It follows a boy called Kel, who is an Antarai, and he can jump through worlds. There's a red London, white London, grey London, and a black London we don't talk about. That no longer exists for reasons. And there's Lila Bad, there's Rai, and somebody comes into book 2 that is just like, nah. And I will say, book 1 is very much a setup book. You don't dive right into the action, but you do find out a lot about Kel and the relationship between him and Rai, which I will be taking no questions at this time. You are wrong if you don't agree with me. It's just one of the best relationships I read in a book ever. And yes, I'm biased because I'm a Schwab trash, but I don't care. The relationship is just genuine brotherly love that just warms my heart every time they interact. They are just sarcastic with each other. They fight like brothers. But they love each other fiercely. They would do anything for each other. And then we've got Lila, who gives off this, she's a badass, don't get me wrong, and she can hold her own and she can fight, but underneath that she says that she doesn't want somewhere to belong, but you could tell that she does, and without realising it, she becomes attached to people that she reluctantly starts to care about, and it's just a whirlwind of awesomeness, and I 100% recommend you read it. So you might be thinking, Lisa, you love Daggershade Magic series, well, go on fam. I'm not counting rereads. It's a reread. It would have been my fave if it wasn't a reread. Can you tell? If you watch my vlogs, you'll know. Wolfsong was my favourite of 2022, December 2022. If you don't know about this book, get to know. I love this. There's a trope in this that some people might not like. If you want to know the trope, you want to be spoiled for the trope, please message me. I will let you know the trope. However, I will say that this book shooketh me to my chorus and just give me all the wholesome, cute vibes that I needed in a book. So it follows a boy called Ox, who is never explicitly mentioned what kind of disability he has or what kind of learning difficulty he has, but people call him slow. He doesn't talk the best, he isn't treated the best by people, but Jesus Christ, the love that you feel for this boy as soon as you meet him. In the first couple of chapters even, I messaged Jem and I was like, oh my god, Ox is adorable and needs to be protected at all times because he is just a bean. An absolute bean. We meet a lot of other characters along the way, but I don't want to say too much because you need to just experience this. The found family, the later down the line, the relationships that are romantic. Jem refers to this as gay werewolves, so you'll see where we're going with this, but it's very much not a smut from the offset, do you know what I mean? It's not, it builds the relationships and the connections between people, and the biggest thing for me is just the love in general that all these characters have for each other. Various different ways of loving them, but the familial love, like the fatherly type of love that comes from one of the characters, the brotherly love that's immediately just envelops Ox when he meets some new characters in the book, and just Ox being this person who's very self-deprecating, who doesn't think he's special, and you literally sat there and you want to just whack him on the head and be like, dude, you don't realise how amazing you actually are as a human being. I don't know, he's a very real character. Like, his feelings, and he is the main character and he's in the story, and it's just like you feel everything he feels, and the audiobook narrator for this is just amazing. And I just have all the love for this book, and I'm so excited to continue. I'm really gutted that the releases are so spread apart. I am in love with everything to do with this book. There are literally, for me personally, no down points of this book. Like I said, a couple of people in our buddy read DNF'd this because they weren't a fan of the trope, and it made them uncomfortable for various reasons. So again, with tropes and stuff, I understand that people have different likes and interests and stuff. So if you want to be spoiled for the trope, just let me know and I will let you know what it is. But if you love fantasy, you love found family, you like a bit of werewolves, a hug in a book but a bit different, like, just Wolfsong is just, it is the one. And that is all from me. This was a longer video than I expected it to be, so I apologise, friends. But if you do like me, you want to see more videos like this, do you want me to continue to do wrap-ups like this, like putting makeup on while I chat through books? If it's not your vibes, then I can stop doing them. I do enjoy doing this, but I also want people to watch my wrap-ups. So yeah, if you do like what you see, then please like, comment, subscribe, share. Put a little black heart in the comments if you're here but you don't have anything to say. Yeah, I appreciate you all very much, and I will see you soon. Every time I fall